turning our attention to the NFL here, Michael. There are every single day new, unique prop markets that are popping up at DraftKings, which makes it fun for us to find alternate ways to bet on and buy in on this league. And there are some passing yards leaders by division odds out there. Let's start in the NFC East. Dak Prescott is a minus 250 favorite in the market here. Jalen Hurts, your second shot at plus 275. Sam Howell, with just one start under his belt, 10-1, third shortest odds. And I found this interesting. Steph and I were talking about this during the commercial break. Jacoby Brissett, the backup in Washington, has shorter odds than your starter for the New York Giants and Daniel Jones.
Yeah, which is interesting, too. I mean, Dak Prescott's the favorite, and we know that Mike McCarthy has decided to take over the play calling and try to emphasize more of a running game. Now, does that mean they're just going to run all the time? I think that's really the wrong assumption to make because McCarthy is going to call. I think they're going to throw the football more as much as they did. I think they're just going to pace the game slightly different. But I'm with you. I mean, Daniel Jones had 3,200 yards passing last year. And, Jalen Hurts had 3,700 yards passing last year. So, how did Jacoby Brissett get ahead of them? I don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't either. And I know that it's still somewhat up in the air who will be the week one starter, although Sam Howell is getting that first look to have the job in Washington. Maybe it's just because of the weapons that he's going to have around him. Scary Terry, Jahan Dotson should be healthy and effective. Curtis Samuel, De'Ami Brown, great potential in a wide receiver from BYU. Dax Milne in his third season, I believe now in the NFL, looking to take steps. So I would imagine it has to do more with that than them themselves potentially.
Yeah, clearly. And then a new offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy. What are they going to do? How are they going to run the offense? How does he fit in? I think, Dak had, less than 3,000 yards passing last year, but he only played in 12 games because of the injury. So, you've got to believe that Hurts is going to continue to expand his passing. And, I know he still runs the football quite a bit. But I think Daniel Jones has got – I don't know if he can lead the conference in passing. They're going to need more from Daniel Jones. There's no question about that. He averaged under 7 yards per pass attempt. But to me, one thing you look at is how much running's involved and how the games are going. And Daniel Jones might have to play from behind and throw the ball more. And at that number, he could be a decent play. That doesn't mean you're the best quarterback in the division. I think we got to separate that a little bit here. It just means that you're going to throw for a lot of yards.
Yeah, maybe a sprinkle on Daniel Jones at 20-1. What you said about Jalen Hurts and his passing game expanding, you look at each of the last 3 seasons where he's played 15 games apiece, goes from 1,061 yards passing to 3,144 to 3,701 in 2022. And Dak, we know if he's healthy and he's playing 15 games plus, then you're going to probably feel pretty confident considering that in every other season, he's played 16 games. He went over 3,300 yards with highs of 4,900 and 4,450. So, but if there were 2 guys, I think that would be worth maybe an investment here. I would say Jalen Hurts and Daniel Jones could be fun if you're trying to steer away from the odds-on number there. How about in the NFC North? Kirk Cousins, a rightful odds-on favorite there as well, minus 150. I think a natural favorite when Justin Jefferson is your wide receiver 1. But who else intrigues you in that division?
Well, look, Goff had 44. There were 9 quarterbacks last year that threw for over 4,000 yards in the league, right? Only one threw for over 5,000. That was Mahomes. So we know that going in. Goff was in that elite group. Goff was 6th overall in terms of passing yards in the league. Cousins was 4th. I think you have to play Goff here at plus 180. It's a good number, right? Because you're getting positive money. It's not the perfect number, but you got to believe that Cousins is going to – I know they drafted Addison, and I know they got the great Justin Jefferson, but, what happens if his line breaks down? What happens if they're not winning as much? All those things could play into effect. I think Goff is the only one to play there. There's no way you could talk me into, no matter how many times you turn over in that pool and get yourself cooled down, Stormy, there's no way you're going to talk me into Justin Fields. There's just no way. There's no way you're doing that.
Even at the 25-1, not worthwhile. I agree with you.
No chance. You could make that 50-1 and I wouldn't touch it. I
you
might
could
look
make
at
that
Nick Mullins at 100-1
and you
before.
wouldn't touch it. You would look at that 200-1 and not touch it.
That's a St. Jude's play if you put that in there. That's a St. Jude's play if you're playing that.
I very much agree. This feels like a two-horse race, though, and you look at Kirk Cousins' numbers from last year, 4,547 yards, and for Goff, his first season in Detroit, just over 100 fewer than Cousins last season. So if he continues to take strides, I think that makes sense that he could be a good option there. Cousins is like a 4,000-yard machine, though, gone over that number in 7 of his last 8 years in the league. But beyond that, Jordan Love, no. Justin Fields, no. Nick Mullins, no. Sean Clifford, no. Like, get the rest of this division out of here because I don't see it happening. In the NFC South, maybe a little bit of intrigue from you. I'm not sure your thoughts on this one. Obviously, Derek Carr, the favorite in this spot as he goes from the Las Vegas Raiders to the New Orleans Saints, minus 225, the number. Chris Olave had a great rookie season. You're getting Michael Thomas back. If he plays like we know he's capable of, that could be a really great feather in the cap of that offense. But Bryce Young right there at plus 350, who I know you're a fan of coming out of Alabama. Any interest in putting a little bit on the rookie?
Yeah, I like that. I would sprinkle that. Look, we know Carr gets his yards. I mean, that's one thing Carr does is he's going to throw the ball, and make plays in terms of passing yards and explosive. It doesn't always translate into winning, nor does it translate into great fourth quarter production. But to me, there's pretty clear why he's the favorite. But Bryce Young would interest me. But the other side of my brain is that, well, they're going to run the ball. Miles Sanders, Chuba Hubbard, they're going to run the ball a little bit there, and they're going to rely. But I do think he would be the only play that you could seriously make. I couldn't do Ritter just because I don't know him. When I watched Ritter play the last 4 games of the NFL season, I felt like, he was so careful with the football. Plus, Atlanta's a run-based team. If you want to get away from Carr, who clearly probably will lead the division in passing, I think the only play is Bryce Young. There's no way you could convince me to take Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask, even though they've got good receivers in Tampa. I mean, they've got the best receivers in Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, but who's getting them the football?
Yeah, and Carr, a regular 4,000-yard passer. Last season, his first season under that number since 2017. And when you talk about Bryce Young, yes, I know that DJ Moore is no longer there as he's a Chicago Bear, but I feel like their skill position players are a little bit underrated. Even Miles Sanders there at running back, who you mentioned, he had 509 receiving yards a year ago. He's got some early rapport with Adam Thielen and DJ Chark, who, yes, had the surgery, but by all reports is looking great this offseason. Terrence Marshall, a young receiver who should be trending upward. I love Jonathan Mingo out of Ole Miss, their second-round pick. I think he could be a really good pro wide receiver, and Hayden Hurst comes over at tight end. So I think there's a lot of weapons around there for Bryce Young to get the ball out to in the passing game. So his passing yards prop is set at 3,500 and a half, even money on the over. Maybe that's the play too, because it's not a significant plus money price like plus 350, but I feel pretty confident if he plays 14, 15 games, he should get over that number. And that's the big question about Bryce Young, right? Everybody has that coming into this season because of his frame, is his durability.
Right. But I think, too, the style of offense is going to allow Bryce Young to make big plays, right? So they're going to run the ball. They're going to be a play-action pass team. And when you are a play-action pass team like San Francisco, like the Rams with Sean McVay, when you do those play action and you can catch those, Philadelphia Eagles are a play action pass team, get those over routes and down the field, yards after the catch plays. Those numbers add up for the quarterback. So you don't have to throw 9 routes to lead the league in passing. You got to be able to make those big chunk plays, which the run game gives you off of that in play action.
And we talked the NFC West this past weekend on Saturday, and both of us kind of agreed when it came to that division. When you look at the top of it, Matt Stafford plus 150, probably no. Brock Purdy plus 160, but Geno Smith at plus 225 seemed like a good value bet out of Seattle. He had 4,282 yards last season, best by far in his career, if maybe he can continue to take steps.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds, listen for free, find showtimes, and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.